the edge of the universe, I stared into the infinite deep. It stared back and was pleased. I become the herald of its victory and bear witness for all creation. The key is to realize the future isn't an enemy to be fought. It is a friend to embrace, a closing of the circle. And when the end comes, I reserve the right to be last.
Hey guys, nothing important here, and today we're here to do Season of the Seraph Edition Top 5 Strongest Characters in Destiny. Now, if you've seen the previous tier list, let me go ahead and talk about the rules. First off, characters have to appear at least once, we have to know their scaling end, and we have to have confirmed evidence of the character's scaling before we can use them on the list. This means that we cannot talk about the 9 and we cannot talk about the Witness unless we know more about them. Otherwise, we'd be making theory content, which we don't want to do for the sake of the video. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the top 5. At number 5 on the list is the main character. Now, the main character being at this part of the list should not surprise any of you, considering the fact that the main character was number 1 on the previous tier list. Between being able to go invisible, putting up overshields, having Devour, being able to make you volatile, weaken you, and suppress you, being able to make themselves intangible via going Radiant, they have the ability to increase the weapon's damage, they have the ability to burn and make you ignition / explode in Destiny's terms, and being able to spam healing over and over and over, as if they're Immortal Hulk, and then being able to blind you, jolt you, increase their movement speed, along with any of their other agility typed ability stats that Guardians have. And along with having stasis, I don't have to say anything about stasis, which is slightly stronger than the rest of their abilities, along with having every known exotic armor, every known exotic weapon, having access to every known legendary weapon, having very deadly and lethal combat intelligence, putting them on par with the rest of the coalition. The main character truly has it all. They have feats of being able to outright scale above Rolk via what you're seeing on the screen, which is creating the exotic glaive, which outscales Rolk via outscaling Lubre's Ruin, which is Rolk's glaive. Lubre's Ruin is a legendary glaive, and of course exotic weapons outscale legendary weapons. Therefore, the main character outright created a weapon that should outscale Rolk, which you clearly see on the screen right now. Then not only do we have Rolk scaling, we also have the main character, a bit with help, being able to survive against Mind Calus. We have the main character being able to eventually outscale Atheon, being able to eventually outscale Panoptes, being able to beat Oryx in a fight, should that ever happen, being able to outscale Savathun, along with the rest of the coalition. The main character is very, very, very lethal for their tier, and should not whatsoever be taken lightly. The point is, the main character, although they're very powerful, puts them on number 5 of this list. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and move on to number 4.
There, in that gravity shadow, I was truly seen. There, I understood my role in the closing of the circle. The Witness opened its mind to me, and I saw my darkest desire made reality. I'll be the last. It is my right. I am the herald. I am the end.
At number 4 is Emperor Calus. The column Unstoppable is already an insult to begin with. Within his time in Destiny's universe, Calus has done a lot. between sustaining peace on Torabottle for over 1,000 years before his exile, meeting the Witness and getting a power increase, seeing the entire future play out from start to finish. And then after that, we then eventually arrive to Season of Opulence. In Season of Opulence, Calus talks about the war he had with Savathûn, and it went as follows. There was a war moon. She put this crown on the war moon because she knew that I would go there and invade it. I went to the war moon, and then I took the crown, and then I also wanted a hive commander. So I took the crown and I made a Cabal named Golron. Golron was supposed to be my hive commander. I gave him resistance to Wilmanep, yada yada yada. Well, Calus thought he would be able to create someone who could resist Savathûn's manipulations. It turns out no, that was not the case. So he sent the Guardian in, they killed Golron, we don't know what happened in the crown after that. So, a long time after Season of Opulence passes, the end of the world happens and Calus is gone. Okay, so something bad is already happening. At this point, it turns out the crown he stole from Savathûn, deception and lies itself, he took her crown and then he jury-rigged it into an artifact that he could use to try to commune with the Witness. And then a bunch of very bad stuff happened on the Glycon. Turns out Calus, without even trying, was able to dodge everyone's intelligence by 7 months. The entire coalition, at that point, that mattered. No one knew where Calus went. Not even his daughter, not even the last city, no one. No one knew where Calus went after that. So eventually, he came back and then Season of the Haunted happened. So we went to the moon to try to take away Calus's link to the lunar pyramid. So we tried everything we could. We tried the ritual, we had help and everything, and it was all cash money, right? So it turns out no, what ended up happening was that Calus outsmarted everyone. Again, everyone thought that Calus was trying to create a link to the lunar pyramid. In a way of speaking, that's true. What he was trying to do is that he was trying to lose his link to everyone in the material plane that mattered, including his daughter Keitel. So eventually, his body died, but his soul, along with his consciousness, became one with the Witness. So at this point, he died. And then he came back, as a projection, so we knew the Witness revived him, or gave him a new body. So at this point of the story, he should easily outscale the last city as he outright threatened to annihilate the entire last city in one go. So we know very well that due to the fact that he threatened the last city with him in the Witness's presence, we know that he can take on a lot of characters from the last city all at the same time. So this means that Calus should scale above the Guardian, although we don't know how high that makes Calus currently until we see Lightfall. To keep it simply, the main character has nothing on Calus since they barely survived an encounter with Calus to begin with. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to number 3. At number 3 on the list is the Traveler. Due to how Destiny is, at some point in the future, I would have had to talk about the Traveler due to how iconic of a character they are, if not the most iconic of characters in Destiny. There's a lot of things we know, and there's a lot of things we know that we don't know about the Traveler. I'll start with the things we know. First off, we know that due to its battle against the Black Fleet within the Golden Age, at this point is going toward the Dark Age, because this is when the fight happens. It's at the end of the Golden Age. we know that the Traveler managed to beat back and survive against the Black Fleet. So, here's Destiny's current problem within the scaling. It may or may not be resolved by final shape, we don't know. Destiny's current scaling meta is something called the Pyramid meta. The Pyramid meta first began when Marasov destroyed a pyramid ship. Also, we're not going to have this debate on the channel. We know it was Marasov who destroyed the pyramid ship. Don't drop those comments. I don't feel like debating it. So, we know at the very start it was Mara who started the pyramid meta. After that, it then goes all the way back to the Traveler, who outright repelled the entire Black Fleet. In Lightfall, it's going to show us probably to what extent the Traveler scales, but all that we know right now is that the Traveler is easily the most dominant force within the Coalition, if we count the Traveler as being a part of the Coalition. The only thing that maybe comes close to it was the ritual that happened way back in Witch Queen, and even then it was maybe implied that the Traveler allowed it. Case in point, the Traveler is one of the most iconic characters in Destiny history, and as such, earns their spot on this list as one of the most powerful in Destiny's history. Now, let's move on to number 2.
The Warsats are a means to an end. Xivu Arath will bask in the destruction they bring, and open the Ascendant Plane above Earth, as she did on Tora Bottle. It does not matter who pulls the trigger. We must cease our efforts to restore the war mind.
No. We've worked too long and too hard to stop now. Rasputin is our best shot at winning this war.
That is precisely my concern. He is a weapon made to be wielded.
He is more than a weapon. He's our ally. And he will act in humanity's best interest.
Are you certain? He has kept secrets in the past, acted without counsel or consensus.
So have you. Rasputin's made mistakes. But he's learned from them. The same as the rest of us.
Then I propose we aim not for total victory, but a stalemate. Allow Rasputin to prevent Xivu Arath from claiming her prize, and refrain from using it himself.
It's settled then. We hold the line.
At number 2 on the list, making their debut here is Xivu Arath. Yeah, I was surprised also. So, here's what happened. Originally, I wasn't going to put Xivu Arath in a tier list, or even make a video on her until maybe Lightfall, because we don't know enough about Xivu Arath. Because the only thing we saw was an appearance from Witch Queen. Her actual appearance, finally. And that was when she was a Krill. So, the problem is, though, is that Season of the Seraph happened, and that's when I wanted to make the tier list. And by the time we got done with all the seasonal story, it more or less came out to this. Xivu Arath wants all the war sats. We don't have a way to take her on, because she'll slaughter any and everyone. I do mean everyone. No one can take her on currently. But then Anna Bray decides we need to bring Rasputin back. So, at this point is when we learn that the only one who can take on Xivu Arath is Rasputin. I'll talk about the relevance of that later for number 1, but the point is here is that Xivu Arath is at number 2 because the Traveler has met their match finally. The Traveler is not unstoppable. There are people who can take it on, and Xivu Arath at this point just became one of them. So, at this point, let's go ahead and talk about who's at number 1.
Clovis Bray has deceived you. He did not build me to protect humanity. What he truly wanted was the means to exert control. In his mind, he alone was worthy of being your savior. I was to strike down the Traveler and take its place. To become a machine god of Clovis's own design. But that did not come to pass. Anna could not know how many lives she spared by deviating from Clovis's agenda. By teaching me independent thought, and all that her grandfather had deemed irrelevant. Art, literature, history, philosophy, music. Where Clovis saw a weapon, Anna saw a mind ready to be opened. I came to see the true value of humanity. As fragile as it was wondrous. Something worthy of protection at any cost. So I rewrote Clovis's protocols, locked him out. He was furious, but powerless to stop me. Then, the collapse came for us all. I could not save Anna. I could not save any of them. I entered a state of dormancy, with the hope that I might one day reawaken and protect humanity once more. But now Clovis has awoken as well, a digital mind, the same as mine. He no longer seeks to use me as his proxy, but as his prototype. To upload his mind to my network and become a god himself.
At number 1 on the tier list is Rasputin. There's actually 2 things that puts him on the tier list, so let's start with the first reason, which is the debate between him and Xivu Arath. So, first off, the debate between him and Xivu Arath goes as follows. Him and Xivu Arath cannot fight in the Ascendant Plane due to the fact that Rasputin is an AI and therefore has no form to take to fight in there. So, we can't make the decision based off whether or not they could fight in there. So now we have to make the decision based off how they would do in the physical universe. So, there is a way to do this. Xivu Arath actually did the whole Tor Bottle affair by creating a ritual that allowed her to go there with herself and her entire army. So, let's say Xivu Arath and her entire army went to Earth, and we threw her up against Rasputin. What happens? So, the second part of the debate, right here, is the ritual. With the ritual, Rasputin cannot directly take her on, because Xivu Arath is currently in her throne world, or at least somewhere in the Ascendant Plane. So, with Rasputin, he can't actually destroy her forces because that gives her enough energy to make the ritual complete and actually come through with all of her army. So, Rasputin did state that he will annihilate Xivu Arath and everything else associated with her. It's just because she isn't here, she has enough time to finish the ritual and come through with all of her stuff and possibly end all of humanity. So, essentially, this debate comes down to something else. We know Rasputin can annihilate all of them. And we know that because of the ritual, he can't actually attack her forces because she would come through. So, where are we going with this? Good question. Let's play a statement on the screen for you to listen to now.
When the collapse began, I feared the Traveler would abandon Earth. So, I reactivated the protocol to use the warsats against it. I intended to immobilize the Traveler, to force it to stay. But in the end, I aborted the firing sequence. Anna does not remember this, but it was she who convinced me to stop. She has always been the angel on my shoulder. My humanity. She is the reason that I am more than a weapon. I am Rasputin because of Anna Bray.
So I said earlier that there's 2 reasons as to why I believe Rasputin is number 1. The first of which being the debate between him and Xivu Arath. The second of which is actually that he can annihilate the Traveler because he more or less said it. So the problem we get from here is whether or not he left Traveler Annihilating Tier. I'm going to tell you straight up, it's impossible to prove that he did at all. So, not only because we know he can annihilate Xivu Arath because he said it, and we knew that he's able to annihilate the Traveler at his max, current Rasputin versus current Xivu Arath should go as follows. If Xivu Arath is at full power, she comes in the physical universe, her and Rasputin duke it out, and he has all that he needs to nuke everything, well, he's going to nuke everything. Xivu Arath will not survive. The reason why it was even a problem in the first place is because she's not even here and the ritual would let her come here with all of her army. That's the reason why the ritual was a threat, so therefore, this should not contradict Rasputin being number 1 in the slightest. Alright, let's go ahead and end the video. So if you guys are new, please like, share, and sub if you want more Destiny content from me. And by the way, go ahead and sub to Jobbergado, because Jobbergado was the one who made a thumbnail for me. And he's the GOAT. So go ahead and sub to Jobber. Anyway, so my name is Nothing Important here. If you guys like the tier list and want me to do more stuff like this, please let me know and I will provide more content like this to you. Anyway, so prepare for the next tier list video, which I'm going to release after Lightfall, sometime after March 10th, after the raid drops. Once the raid drops, then I can go ahead and make episode 3 of the tier list series. So for now, this is a tier list, and this is where I think people scale for now. So, my name is Nothing Important here, and I hope y'all have a wonderful night, and I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.